Hello, BookTube. I have a tag for you today on Saturday, even though it's not Tag Tuesday. And it's a tag for Alice. It's a tag for Alice in the Giant Bookshelf, who died, who left us, left our merry band, and is much missed, much mourned. And uh, Melinda at Web of Stories and Elizabeth and Bouqins and Books thought it would be a good idea to revive an old tag that Alice made years ago, the Hercule Poirot mystery book tag. I checked, and I don't think I ever did this tag back in 2021 or 2022 or whenever it was first done. But I would have done it. I would have redone it anyway, as a dorky kind of booktube tribute. What can we say? We're stunned that she's not here. We miss her. We always will. So this is as good a tribute as any. I hope that you all do this. That would be wonderful. And as you can tell from the title, all of the prompts are about Agatha Christie's little Belgian detective. I'm not a Frenchie. I'm a Belgie. So we'll do prompt number 1. Hercule Poirot is a detective who is extremely proud of his achievements. In The Mystery of the Blue Train, he announces, "My name is Hercule Poirot, and I am probably the greatest detective in the world. If not Poirot, who is your favorite detective? And what book do you recommend featuring your favorite?" I thought about this for a while, and I honestly think that Beatrice Bradley may be my favorite detective. I don't go to murder mysteries for the detective, but so many murder mystery recurring detective characters are so bland. Although if the author wants to make them eccentric, they make them too eccentric. Whereas Beatrice Bradley she's a psychoanalyst, she's a professional, she's a wealthy woman on her own. She occurs over and over again in murder mysteries written by Gladys Mitchell, who is not very well remembered now, but who's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And Gladys Mitchell makes Beatrice Bradley into. She is distinctive. Let's just put it that way. One of the recurring elements about her in almost all of the novels and short stories where she appears is people talking about how physically unprepossessing she is, how physically ugly she is. She's referred to as crocodilian on a number of different occasions, or withered and bird-like. She has absolutely no problem with self-esteem, and the people that know her friends and her employees, also have no problem self-esteeming her. But Gladys Mitchell leaves us in no doubt that she is not to be played by Angela Lansbury. Let's just put it that way. And yet, no casting director for the part of Beatrice Bradley has ever had the guts to cast an ugly woman. Ugly women are hard to come by, but in Hollywood you can find anything. No casting director that I know of has ever cast her in the way that she should be cast. But she's fascinating. She's ruthless. She's largely unsentimental. She's one of those. She's one of those mystery protagonists that seems to know everything right away. We very seldom catch her in the process of learning anything. That I think is fascinating, because that puts you as the reader on your hind foot. You're thinking, wait a minute, she came across all this information at the same time I did. How come she knows more than I do? Of course, the prototype of that being Sherlock Holmes, but it's done really well in Gladys Mitchell's novels, so I recommend them. Then prompt number 2, Hercule Poirot famously uses these little gray cells to solve cases. Have you ever solved an Agatha Christie mystery? If yes, which one? If no, is there an author whose mysteries you have solved? I have never solved an Agatha Christie mystery because, quite frankly, and I no disrespect to Alice here, she and I would have had a great debate on the subject, one that I'm sure she would have enjoyed. Agatha Christie's mysteries don't exactly go from A to B to C. To put it mildly, the solutions to a lot of Agatha Christie mysteries are pretty weird. They're pretty murky. They're clearly done retroactively so that you can't guess them. So I've never really succeeded in guessing an Agatha Christie mystery, and I'm not sure that I'd be comfortable knowing someone who had, because you'd have to be. I think it would be mostly a stroke of luck for you to light on the right person. Until you read a little bit further in Christie, once you've read a lot more of Christie, once you've read a lot of her, you know that a lot of times her own personal writing prejudices will tend to make a certain class of person guilty. I don't like that aspect of Agatha Christie. I think it's actually one of the ugliest aspects of her as a writer and a person. But after a while, you can guess something. You'll be closer to being right guessing the villain by estimating the amount of social disdain that Christie herself has for the character, or would have if they met them in real life. I've never, whatever the reason is, I've never actually successfully guessed an Agatha Christie mystery. Elizabeth Daily wrote, she, like Gladys Mitchell, she's largely forgotten. She's also really, really good. She wrote a series of mysteries. They're all really wonderful. I really, really enjoy them. For whatever reason, I don't know what kind of mental wavelength we're talking about here, but for whatever reason, with Elizabeth Daily, I have never read an Elizabeth Daily novel. I think by now I've read them all. I've never read one where I wasn't accurately able to guess the ending, where I wasn't accurately able to guess the killer. Not one. I can foreguess what she's going to do every single time. No idea why. I don't know if this is common with people who read her mysteries. Maybe she was known, 100 years ago, as a mystery author where you certainly will guess who's doing it. Maybe she knew that and didn't care. Of course, she's never had a biography, so I don't know one way or another. But she would be an example, but not Christie. Then prompt number 3 is The Mysterious Affair at Styles. Is the introduction to Hercule Poirot. Recommend a book in a series where you meet one of your favorite characters for the first time. Here I would pick Dissolution, the first of C.J. Sansom's Matthew Shardlake novels. We learned just recently that Sansom died, so the Shardlake novel that was in production. I don't know if the publisher will finish it. We'll have somebody finish it, but we won't get any more after that, at least that were written by this author. And in Dissolution is where we meet a Tudor-era hunchbacked lawyer, distantly attached to the Inns of Court in the Tudor era. And Shardlake ends up being a wonderfully textured character, especially as Sansom moves away from writing murder mysteries. Dissolution is basically a murder mystery. And more towards historical novels, longer and longer historical novels, in which there is a murder mystery. It sounds like a distinction without a difference until you see it, until you see the difference. They are very different things. And Sansom embraced it. Instead of fighting against it, this author embraced that difference. So the later Shardlake novels are very long and very textured. They have red herrings, they have dead bodies, they have a reveal at the end, but they aren't, I don't think of them as murder mysteries. But Dissolution is where we meet this character, this most unlikely of characters. Then prompt number 4, Murder on the Orient Express. Agatha Christie wrote several Poirot books set on different types of transport. What is your favorite mystery set on a train, plane, boat? And here, I know that it's very basic of me, but I'm going to say Murder on the Orient Express. We're so familiar with it as a book and a good movie adaptation and a very bad movie adaptation. We're so familiar with the concept that we tend to forget how good a book it is. It's really, really well done. And far more inventive than it appears, because we're usually seeing it through the lens of 80 million imitators. So I'm going to say Murder on the Orient Express. It is a heck of a book. If Agatha Christie had written nothing else, we would still remember her for that book. Then question number 5 is The ABC Murders features a killer working his way through an alphabet of victims. Recommend a mystery involving a serial killer. And here I'm going to echo Book Chat with Pat in mentioning Thomas Harris books, The Silence of the Lambs, but also any of his. The Silence of the Lambs is probably the best example. Red Dragon, the one before it, would also be a good example, where there is a serial killer going on, and we get inside the mechanics of how law enforcement deals with serial killers, how you track down clues, how you vet the forensics, where you get your expertise. Famously in Silence of the Lambs, that expertise comes, much like in Red Dragon, from another serial killer, from Thomas Harris' signature character, Hannibal Lecter. Pat says that Silence of the Lambs very much disturbed her and that she quickly got rid of the book. It very much disturbed me too. It is a very disturbing book. There are passages in there that are just open doorways to bottomless pits of iniquity. Harris skates right over them, but he wants you to know that iniquity is there. And that is also true in Hannibal, what I consider to be his greatest book. But still, I certainly didn't get rid of Silence of the Lambs. In fact, I reread Thomas Harris regularly because he is so good. If you are one of the many people who thinks I don't need to read Silence of the Lambs or Red Dragon because I've seen the movie adaptations, you shouldn't think that. You should read the books. They are really good. Then question number 6 is Dumb Witness. Bob the dog helps Poirot investigation in this one, in the book called Dumb Witness. Can you recommend a book where an animal helps to solve the case? I have to, because this always confused me. This book always confused me. I've never known a dog who didn't talk all the time, and I was a wee lad, a wee little tadpole, when someone who's never been mentioned on this channel, but nevertheless formative, said to me, "Well, the rest of us don't understand that. So, you say this dog has been talking to you nonstop. You say this dog says someone came here at 11 in the morning. I now know that's true. So I now know you learned that from this dog, but none of the rest of us can understand that. So you should stop saying that we can. Why didn't you listen to the dog? You should stop asking that question. You're annoying everyone else when you do that." But when I read Dumb Witness for the first time, I thought, well, just ask Bob. Just ask him what he saw. You won't be able to ask him in human terms, and he won't be able to answer in human terms, but he'll give you a lot of useful information. He could, for instance, take you to the killer and just say, this was the person who was here right at the top of the stairs, right at the point that you want. You can still smell his foot on the carpet. Why are you confused about this? Anyway, I have never read a murder mystery in which an animal helps to solve a mystery in which the book wasn't vomit-inducing. I hate those kinds of things. Animals don't care about such a thing, and you are just anthropomorphizing them when you make them care. But there was a book by Sherry Randall called Drawn and Buttered. It's a cozy mystery series. It's really good. It's a really enjoyable cozy mystery series. And one of the characters in that book is a gigantic lobster named Lobzilla. And I think you could say that by the end of the book, Lobzilla has helped to solve the crime. Lobzilla, of course, is a lobster. So Lobzilla has a brain the size of a tiny little grain of sand. But I think you could make a case that Lobzilla helps to solve the mystery. I don't know. It'd be a long shot. Then prompt number 7 is Five Little Pigs, also adapted as a play, Go Back for Murder. Poirot solves several cases in his time that have been closed for years. Which is your favorite cold case, Poirot? I don't actually have one. If you don't have one, can you recommend any other authors/detectives who solved a past cold case? And I can, of course. One of the best-selling murder mysteries of all time is a cold case. One of the coldest cases of them all. And that is The Daughter of Time by Josephine Tey, where her main character is laid up in the hospital with a broken leg. He cannot solve crimes. He can't leave the room. Can't leave the bed. So he decides to take up the story of King Richard III and the princes in the tower, the so-called princes in the tower. Did King Richard kill his nephews in order to take the throne? Did he have them imprisoned in the Tower of London, and then did he have them killed there? And Josephine Tey's main character has friends bring him history books, and he just looks at it from a detective's point of view and sifts out the evidence, and eventually comes to the conclusion that not only did Richard III not kill his nephews, but that he would never kill a fly. The butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. I did my own response video to that. I think is fairly conclusive, certainly pretty entertaining. I would hope. I'll leave a link to it if I remember to. But Daughter of Time would be one of those. Definitely a cold case murder mystery. There's another one, The Eye of Horus, that is, I guess, a cold case murder mystery of an even colder variety, because a modern archaeologist solves a crime in ancient Egypt based on Egyptology and archaeological records and whatnot. But I'm going to stick with The Daughter of Time because it's so entertaining. And then 8, the last prompt, Dead Men's Folly, is famously set against Agatha Christie's own holiday home, Greenway. What is your favorite murder mystery setting? And for me, hands down, it's the English country house. I love English country house murder mysteries. Just love them. There's a Mysterious Press made a volume years and years ago that is really, really good anthology called The English Country House Murder Anthology. Just wonderful. I could stand... I'd very much like to see some enterprising Otto Penzler type figure do an even bigger anthology of country house murders. That would be terrific. But that old volume from Mystery Press, go back to it all the time. I know all the stories in it by heart, but I go back to it all the time. And I'm always up for more. Indie Press or some undiscovered author or some 1930s author that decided to break out of their lane and set a murder mystery in a country house. But there are mystery authors today who regularly do it. It's a time-honored location. English country houses of great stately piles out in the country. There's usually minimal egress. There's usually a set cast of characters, and usually the way the murder mystery author will enhance the story is to lock it down. So you're not anywhere near a city. You're nowhere near law enforcement. And what if a blizzard comes in? So that you can neither go nor come. Where the roads are blocked, so everyone in the house is stuck there. But the house is ornate and has all sorts of hidden passages and whatnot. Usually English country house mysteries are accompanied by some way to quarantine the action. And I love that. I just love it. The author has to do a lot of work to make me dislike a book like that, even if they're not doing a good job. So that is the Hercule Poirot murder mystery book tag that Alice made years ago to reflect her love of all things Agatha Christie. And all this stuff to do is to tag people. Pat tagged a whole bunch of people. I hope that everybody does this. It's a delightful tag on its own. Of course, you'd have to read murder mysteries really to do it, but a lot of people read murder mysteries, so I'm hoping you all do this. It's a nerdy BookTube tribute, but Alice deserves it. So I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.